Good morning, students. Yeah, say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book. Take page number 117. So today's class we will discuss about the first political party which formed the government in Madras Presidency. So do you know which political party? Yeah, Justice Party. So it was started as South Indian Liberal Federation. Then how it gained the name Justice Party? Then what are the achievements so that were done by the Justice Party? So we will discuss in today's class, and also we will discuss about the self-respect movement. So started by Periyar EVR. So the role of Periyar EVR in the social transformation in Tamil Nadu. So today's class we will discuss about South Indian Liberal Federation, Justice Party, their programs and activities, and also self-respect movement, and about Periyar EV Ramasamy. Okay, va? So recall what we discussed in our previous class. So just we recalled about the Tamil Renaissance. So Tamil, so the oldest language in India. Okay, so what was the development? So what are the process? Which one? So underpinned the process of Tamil Renaissance. So we discussed about the introduction of printing press, then linguistic research on Dravidian languages. So advent of printing technology. So so Tamil was the first non-European language that went into print. So do you know the Tamil book? So first Tamil book published, Thambiran Vanakkam. Then we discussed about the role of C.W. Damodaran and U.V. Swaminathan. So they collect the old manuscript, so which were written in palm leaf, and they published in books. So their role we can't forget. So then we discussed about Robert Caldwell. So who wrote a book called as A Comparative Grammar of the Dravidian or South Indian Family of Languages. He established the close relationship between the Dravidian languages in contrast with the Sanskrit. And also he established the antiquity, so the oldness of Tamil language. Then we discussed about some of the Tamil scholars, so like V. Kalyanasundaram, Paridimar Kalaignar, Maraimalai Adigal, Subramania Bharati, Vaiyapuri, and their role in Tamil literature. So Surya Narayana Shastri, he changed his name into pure Tamil, so Paridimar Kalaignar. Then we discussed about Maraimalai Adigal. So his original name was Vedachalam. So he changed his name into pure Tamil. Then finally we discussed about Tani Tamil Iyakam. So today's class we will discuss about the rise of the Dravidian movement, that is the Justice Party and self-respect movement. Okay, va? So South Indian Liberal Federation. So on 20th November 1916, around 30 prominent non-Brahmin leaders, including Dr. C. Nadesanar, Sir Pitti Tyagarayar, T.M. Nair, and Alamelu Mangai Tayarammal, came together to form the South Indian Liberal Federation, so SILF. So on 20th November 1916, around 30 important non-Brahmin leaders. So they were not Brahmins. So they were non-Brahmins. So they belonged to the caste other than Brahmin community. So 30 Brahmin members. So include Dr. C. Nadesanar, Sir Pitti Tyagarayar, T.M. Nair, and Alamelu Mangai Tayarammal. So they came together and formed the South Indian Liberal Federation. In the meantime, at a meeting held in the Victoria Public Hall. So in the meantime, there was a meeting held in the Victoria Public Hall, which was in Madras. So the non-Brahmin manifesto was released. So manifesto, a written statement in which a group of people, especially a political party, issued. So manifesto means a written statement. So manifesto, a written statement. So was released in December 1916. So 20th November 1916, they formed the South Indian Liberal Federation. So in the next month, in the month of December, so they released their manifesto. So they released their policy. So the manifesto articulated the voice of the non-Brahmin communities. So the manifesto, so which was released, it speaks about the the non-Brahmin communities. Then how it got the name Justice Party? So actually the association started publishing 3 newspapers. So in Tamil they published the paper called as Dravidian. In English, they published the newspaper called as Justice. In Telugu, they published Andhra Prakasika. So in order to spread their ideas. So the South Indian Liberal Federation published. So in Tamil language, they published Dravidian. In English, they published Justice. So in Telugu, they published a newspaper called as Andhra Prakasika. Since they published in English language, so they published Justice. So this party came to be known as Justice Party. So actually, they started the party as South Indian Liberal Federation. But so they published the English newspaper called as Justice. So that's why the party came to be known as Justice Party. So in Tamil, later it was called as Neethi Katchi. Okay, va? So the first election under the Montague-Chelmsford Reforms Act was held in 1920 after the introduction of the diarchy, that is double government form of government in the provinces. So the first election ever held in India was in the year 1920. So after the introduction of Montague-Chelmsford Reforms Act. So as per this act, so diarchy was introduced in the provinces. So the Justice Party won the election and formed the first ever Indian cabinet in the Madras Presidency. So the Justice Party won the elections that held in the year 1920 and formed the first Indian cabinet. So in the Madras province, A. Subbrayulu became the Chief Minister of the Madras Presidency, and the party formed the government during 1922-1923 and 1923-1926. So A. Subbrayulu formed the first ministry. So he became the first Chief Minister of the Madras Presidency. So so Congress, so they adopted the non-cooperation movement. So they boycotted the legislature. So the Justice Party continued to remain in office till 1937. So since the Congress Party boycotted the legislature, the Justice Party continued to remain in office till 1937 elections. In the 1937 elections, the Indian National Congress contested the elections for the first time, and they defeated the Justice Party completely. So from the year 1920 onwards, so the Justice Party had a huge victory. So because the Congress Party, so they boycotted the legislature. But when they contested the election, which held in the year 1937, so Indian National Congress emerged victorious and they defeated the Justice Party completely. So then in the mean year, so from the year 1920 to 1937, so they were in power. So what they did? So what they did in the Madras Presidency? So they did a lot of things to the Madras Presidency. So the Justice Party is the fountainhead of the non-Brahmin movement in the country. Yes, the Justice Party is the important one. So they were the fountainhead. So they were the important head of the non-Brahmin movement in the country. So the Justice Party government widened, so increased the education and employment opportunities for the majority of the population and created space for them in the political sphere. So because before the arrival of the Justice Party, so even in education and also in the employment opportunity, so most of the places were occupied by the Brahmins, so who were very low in population. So just they occupy just 2 to 3% in the population. But in the education field and also in the government job, so they occupy more than 80%. So the Justice Party government widened education and employment opportunities for the majority of the population and created space for them in the political sphere. So because of the Justice Party only, so many non-Brahmins came forward and participated in the political sphere. So the Justice Party removed the legal hindrances. So hindrances, a thing that makes it more difficult for somebody to do something or for something to happen. So hindrance, so it blocks something or it hides something. So the Justice Party removed the legal hindrances which restricted the inter-caste marriages and broke the barriers that prevented the depressed class from the use of public wells and tanks. So the Justice Party removed the legal hindrances. So the something that blocked, so which restricted the inter-caste marriages. So initially, so there were some laws which restricted the inter-caste marriages. And also they broke the barriers that prevented the depressed class people, so the low caste people, so using the public wells and tanks. So the Justice Party government ordered that the public schools should accommodate the children of the depressed class. So the Justice Party ordered that the public schools should accommodate should allow the children of the depressed class. So hostels were established for the students belonging to the depressed class people in the year 1923. So hostels were established for the students of the depressed class, so who belongs to the depressed class in the year 1923. In the meantime, the Madras legislature under the Justice Party government was the first to approve participation of women in the electoral politics in 1921. Yes, in the meantime, the Madras legislature, so the Justice Party, so they were the first government to approve the participation of women in the elections. Yes, in the year 1921. Yeah. So this resolution created space for the women and thus facilitated Muthulakshmi Ammayar to become the first women legislator in India in 1926. Yeah. So in the year 1921, so the Justice Party, so they allowed, so they approved the participation of women in the elections. So because of this only, so Muthulakshmi Ammayar so became the first women legislator in India in 1926. So Madras legislature under the Justice Party government was the first to approve women participation in the electoral politics in the year 1921. So this resolution created space for the women and thus facilitated, so and thus supported Muthulakshmi Ammayar to become the first women legislator in India in 1921. So the Justice Party also worked towards the legislating provisions, so creating laws for the communal representation, that is reservation for various communities. So the Justice Party worked towards creating a law so for the various communities. So for creating reservations for various communities. So two communal government order, so which was issued on 16th September 1921 and 15th August 1922 were passed to make sure equal distribution in the appointment among various castes and communities as a part of achieving social justice. The Justice Party, so they only introduced the reservations, so for various communities in government job. So they issued two communal government orders. So one on 16th September 1921 and another on 15th August 1922. So the order were passed, so to make sure, so giving equal representation, so giving equal chance for the various communities. So apart from the Brahmins, so for giving the job to the non-Brahmins, they introduced the reservations. Okay, so this was the major achievement of the Justice Party. So the Justice Party also established the Staff Selection Board in 1924 for the selection of the government officials and encouraged all the communities to share the administrative power. Yes, the Justice Party rule established the Staff Selection Board in the year 1924 for the selection of government officials, and they also encouraged all the communities to share the administrative power. In the year 1929, the government of British India adopted the pattern and established the Public Service Commission, so which later called as Union Public Service Commission, and in the state they were called as State Public Service Commission. So the Justice Party established the Staff Selection Board in the year 1924 for the selection of the government officials. So like there is TNPSC now, so Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission. So like that, so they introduced the Staff Selection Board in order to choose the government officials. And they encouraged all the communities to share the administrative power. In 1929, the government of British India adopted the same pattern and established the Public Service Commission for the selection of government officials. So the Justice Party also concentrated on the reforms in religious institutions. So they introduced the Hindu Religious Endowment Act in 1926 and enabled any individual, irrespective of their caste affiliation, to become a member of the temple committee and govern the resources of the religious institutions. So the Justice Party, so they also introduced some reforms in the religious institutions. So they introduced an act called as Hindu Religious Endowment Act. So what is the Hindu Religious Endowment Act? So as per this act, anyone, so any individual, so who may be a non-Brahmin, so irrespective of their caste, he can become the member of the temple committee, and he can govern the resources of the religious institutions. So before that, so before this act, so the Hindu temples, they were under the control of the Brahmins only. But by introducing the Hindu Religious Endowment Act, so the Justice Party so allowed any individual, so irrespective of their caste, so he can become the member of the temple committee, and he can also govern the resources of the temples, that is religious institutions. So these were the important achievement. So these were the important activities of the Justice Party. So first, so they removed the laws to restrict the intercaste marriages, and also they broke the barriers that prevented the depressed class people from the use of public wells and tanks. So they also established hostels for the students of the depressed class. And also they were the first government to approve the participation of women in the elections in the year 1921. So the non-Brahmin, so became the member of, so achieved by the Justice Party. So next, self-respect movement. So in Tamil, Suyamariyadai Iyakkam. So the self-respect movement advocated, so the self-respect movement, so supported a casteless society, so divide of rituals and differences based on birth. So the society which supported caste, so they practice some rituals. So and the differences is based on birth. But the self-respect movement so advocated a casteless society. The movement declared rationality and self-respect as the birthright of all human beings and held this as a more important than self-rule. So the self-respect movement so declared rationality. So rationalism. So what is meant by rationality? So rationalism, so the belief that all behavior, opinion, etc. should be based on reason rather than emotion or religious belief. So the self-respect movement, so declared rationality and self-respect as the birthright of all human beings and held, so this as the most important, that is rationality and self-respect as the most important than self-rule. So the self-respect movement advocated a casteless society, divide, so completely lacking. So divide of rituals and differences based on birth. So they advocated the casteless society which avoided the rituals and the differences based on birth. So the movement declared rationality, that is believing things. So that is the belief that all behavior, opinion, etc. should be based on reason rather than emotion or religious belief. So and also they advocated rationality and self-respect as the birthright of all human beings and held this as the most important than self-rule. So the movement declared illiteracy as a source of women's subordination. So subordination, so have less power. So the movement declared illiteracy as the source of women's subordination and they promoted compulsory elementary education for all. So the movement declared illiteracy as a source for women's subordination. So why women have less power? So because they have no literacy. So during the time women have no literacy power. So they have no literate. They were not illiterate. So they were not given education. So that's why they have less power. So the self-respect movement so promoted compulsory elementary education for all. The movement demanded women's emancipation and they deplored, so they criticized the superstitions and they supported rationality. The movement also advocated self-respect marriage. So the movement, the self-respect movement demanded women's participation, women's emancipation to free somebody especially from legal or political or social restrictions. So they demanded women's freeness. So they demanded women should be free. So from legal, political and social restrictions. And they deplored. So they criticized the superstitious belief. And also they emphasized the rationality. So the movement also advocated self-respect marriage. The self-respect movement so championed not only the cause for the non-Brahmin Hindus but also that of the Muslims. So the self-respect movement so not only spoke for the non-Brahmin Hindus but also that of the Muslims. So the self-respect movement extolled the lofty principles of Islam such as equality and brotherhood. So the self-respect movement extolled, so praise somebody. So they praised the lofty principles. So lofty, so deserving praise, so because of its high moral quality. So the self-respect movement so supported the lofty principles of Islam, so such as equality and brotherhood. Next, Periyar EVR. So Periyar E.V. Ramasamy was the founder of the self-respect movement. So he was the son of a wealthy businessman in Erode, so Venkatappa and Chinnathayamal. So Periyar EVR. So he was the founder of the self-respect movement. So he was the son of a wealthy businessman in Erode, So his father name was Venkatappa and his mother name was Chinnathayamal. Yeah. So though possessing little formal education, he involved in critical discussions with the scholars who used to be patronized by his devout father. Yeah. So though possessing so little formal education, so that is so during his child days itself. Yeah. So he involved in so critical discussions with the scholars who used to be supported by his devout father. So devout. So believing strongly in a particular religion. Yeah, so he discussed with scholars who used to be supported by his devout father. So his father was believed strongly in his religion. Yeah. As a young man, he once ran away from home and spent many months in Varanasi and other religious centers. Yeah, so as a young man, he ran away from home once. Yeah, and he spent many months in Varanasi and other religious centers. Yeah, the first-hand experience of the Orthodox Hindus so led to his dissatisfaction with religion. So the first-hand experience of Orthodox Hindu religion led to his disillusionment. So illusionment means disappointment with religion. On his return, he took care of his family business for some years. So after returning from Kashi, he took care of his family business for some years. His selfless public service and forthrightness made him a popular personality. So his selfless public service and forthrightness so made him a popular personality. He held different official positions of Erode that included the chairmanship of municipal council. So he held different social official positions so of Erode, which included the chairmanship of municipal council. That is from 1918 to 1919. He was the chairman of the Erode Municipal Council. So, as a president of the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee, Periyar proposed a resolution regarding the rights of the untouchables to temple entry. As the president of the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee, Periyar proposed a resolution so which records the rights of the untouchables to enter into the temple. In the name of the caste dharma, the lower caste people were denied access to the temples and the streets surrounding the temple. In the name of the caste dharma, so the lower class people, that is the depressed class people, were not allowed to enter into the temple and even the street surrounding the temple. So they were not only allowed to enter into the temple, but even so they were not allowed to enter into the street so that they surround the temple. So Periyar so wanted to remove this. So that he proposed a resolution in the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee regarding the rights of the untouchables to temple entry. So in Vaikam, a town in the princely state of Travancore and in present day Kerala, in Vaikam there was a temple. So the people protested against this practice. So in Vaikam there was a temple in which so the untouchables, the lower caste people were not allowed to enter into the temple and even the street surrounding the temple. So the people of Vaikam protested against this practice. In the initial stages, George Joseph of Madurai played a big role. In the initial stages of the so protest by the people, so George Joseph from Madurai played a big role. After the local leaders were arrested, Periyar led the movement and he was also imprisoned. So Periyar was now so praised as Vaikam Veerar, that is hero of Vaikam. So in Vaikam, a town in the then princely state of Travancore and in present day Kerala. So people protested against the practice of not allowing the lower caste people into the temple. In the initial stages, George Joseph of Madurai played a big role. So after the local leaders were arrested, Periyar led the movement and he was put in jail. So people hailed him. So people praised him as Vaikam Veerar. That is hero of Vaikam. So because of the struggle, so because of the movement led by Periyar, so Travancore government, so the princely state of Travancore, so finally accepted and allowed the depressed class people to allow into the temple. So that's why Periyar was hailed as Vaikam Veerar, that is hero of Vaikam. So in the meantime, so he was disturbed by the caste-based discrimination in the dining hall at the Cheran Mahadevi Gurukulam. a school, so which was run by B.V. Subramaniam, a Congress leader, with the financial support of the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee. Yes, in the meantime, so Periyar was disturbed by the caste-based discrimination in the dining hall at the Charanmadevi Gurukulam, so Charanmadevi school, which was run by V.V. Subramaniam, a Congress leader, with the financial support of the Congress Committee, so Tamil Nadu Congress Committee. So Periyar was disappointed when, despite of his objections and protestations against this discrimination, the Congress continued to support the iniquitous practice in the Gurukulam. So in the meantime, he was disturbed by the caste-based discrimination in the dining hall at the Charanmadevi Gurukulam, which was run by V.V. Subramaniam. So do you know who was V.V. Subramaniam? Yeah, so he was a freedom fighter. So he was a Congress leader. So he ran the Charanmadevi Gurukulam with the financial support of the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee. So Periyar was disappointed when, so despite of his objections and protest against this discrimination, the Congress party so continued to support the iniquitous practice. So iniquitous, very unfair and wrong. So despite of his objections, so and protest against the discrimination, the Congress party so continued to support the iniquitous practice in the Charanmadevi Gurukulam. Periyar started the self-respect movement in the year 1925. So Periyar started the self-respect movement in the year 1925. So he understood the importance of mass communication in spreading the rationalist thought. So rationalism in Tamil we can say Pagutarivu. Okay, so Periyar started the self-respect movement in the year 1925, and he understood the importance of mass communication in spreading the rationalist thought. He started a number of newspapers and journals such as Kudiyarasu, that is democracy, in the year 1925. So revolt, then Purachi or revolution, then Pagutarivu, rationalism, and Vidudalai, liberation, in the year 1935. So Kudiyarasu was the official newspaper of the self-respect movement. So Periyar understand the importance of the mass communication in spreading the ideas of rationalism. So he started a number of newspapers and journals such as Kudiyarasu, Purachi, Pagutarivu, Vidudalai. So among this paper, Kudiyarasu became the official newspaper of the self-respect movement. Usually Periyar wrote a column and expressed his opinion on social issues in each of its issues. So usually Periyar wrote a column, so that is his opinion, and expressed his opinion on social issues. He frequently wrote columns under the pseudonym of Chitraputran. So he frequently wrote columns in Kudiyarasu newspaper under the pseudonym. So pseudonym, a name used by somebody, especially a writer, instead of their real name. So he used a name, pseudonym called as Chitraputran. So Periyar had a close relationship with Singaravelar, who is considered to be the first communist of South India. So Periyar had a close relationship with Singaravelar, who is considered to be the first communist of South India and a pioneer of Buddhism. In 1936, Periyar got Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's book Annihilation of Caste translated into Tamil immediately after it was written. So in 1936, Periyar got Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's Annihilation. So annihilation, so to defeat somebody or something completely. So annihilation means to defeat something completely. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste, which was translated into Tamil immediately after it was written. So when Ambedkar written the book Annihilation of Caste, it was translated into Tamil immediately. So Periyar got that book. So he also supported Ambedkar's demand for separate electorate for the scheduled caste. So Periyar supported Ambedkar's demand for separate electorate for the scheduled caste. In 1937, in opposition to the Rajaji government moved to introduce compulsory Hindi in schools, he launched a popular movement to oppose it. In 1937, when Rajaji government tried to introduce compulsory Hindi in schools, he launched a popular movement to oppose it. The anti-Hindi agitation, so which held in the year 1937 to 1939, had a big impact on Tamil Nadu politics. So the anti-Hindi agitation, so which was held between the year 1937 to 39, so had a big effect on the Tamil Nadu politics. So Periyar was imprisoned for his role in the movement. So Periyar launched the anti-Hindi agitation. So he was imprisoned in the movement. When he was still in jail, Periyar was elected as the president of the Justice Party. So Periyar was imprisoned for the anti-Hindi agitation. And he was in jail. So though he was in jail, Periyar was elected as the president of the Justice Party. So thereafter, the Justice Party merged with the self-respect movement. So when he was elected as the president of the Justice Party, he merged so Justice Party with the self-respect movement. It was rechristened. So that is renamed as Dravidar Kalagam in the year 1944. So Periyar merged Justice Party with the self-respect movement, and later it was renamed as Dravidar Kalagam. So in the year 1944. Rajaji, the Chief Minister of Madras State, introduced a vocational education program that encouraged the school children with training in tune with the father's occupation. So Rajaji, the Chief Minister of Madras State, introduced the vocational education program. So the vocational education program that encouraged the school children to help the father's occupation. So Periyar criticized it as a Kulakalvi Thittam, that is caste-based education scheme, and opposed it completely. His campaign against it led to the resignation of Rajaji. So his campaign led to the resignation of Rajaji. So K. Kamraj became the Chief Minister of the Madras State. So Rajaji, the Chief Minister of Madras State, in the year 1952-54, that is after independence, introduced a vocational education program that encouraged the imparting school children with the training in tune with their father's occupation. So Periyar criticized it as the Kulakalvi Thittam, that is caste-based education system, and opposed it tooth and nail, that is completely opposite that system. So his campaign against it led to the resignation of Rajaji. So K. Kamraj became the Chief Minister of the Madras State. So Periyar died at the age of 94 in the year 1973, and his mortal remains were buried at Periyar Thidal in Madras. So Periyar, so after achieving a lot of things, after struggling for the welfare of the depressed class people, and to encourage the people about self-respect, he died at the age of 94. So he worked for the whole Tamil community. And he died at the age of 94 in the 1973. His mortal remains were buried at Periyar Thidal in Madras. So next, Periyar, a feminist. So feminist means a person who supports the belief that women should have the same right and opportunity as like men. So Periyar, he was a feminist. So feminist means a person who supports the belief that women should also have the same right and opportunities as like that of the men. So Periyar was critical of patriarchy. So patriarchy, a society, a system, or a country that is ruled or controlled by men. So Periyar, he criticized the patriarchy. He condemned child marriage under the Devadasi system, that is institution of temple girls. So right from 1929, when the self-respect conferences began to voice its concern over the plight of women, Periyar had been emphasizing women's right to divorce and property. So Periyar objected to terms like giving in marriage. So this he said treating women as a thing. He wanted to substitute by it as a companion, that is Valkai Thunai, a word for marriage taken from the Tirukural. So Periyar's most important work on this subject is why the women is enslaved. So Periyar, so he was critical of patriarchy. So patriarchy in Tamil, Anadikam. He opposed the child marriage under the Devadasi system. So right from the year 1929, when the self-respect conferences began to voice its concern over the plight of women, Periyar had emphasized, so Periyar had supported women's right to divorce and property. He also objected to the terms like giving in marriage. So why he opposed this means, so this treat women as a thing. So he wanted to replace it by the word Valkai Thunai, a word for marriage taken from Tirukural. Periyar's the most important work on this subject was why the women is enslaved. In Tamil, pen yen adimayanal. Okay, Periyar believed that the property rights for women would provide them a social status and protection. So Periyar believed that the property right, the parents' property, ancestral property rights for women would provide them a social status and protection. In 1989, government of Tamil Nadu fulfilled the dream of radical reformers by the introduction of the Hindu Succession Tamil Nadu Amendment Act of 1989, which makes sure the equal rights to ancestral property for women in inheritance. So this had become a trend trendsetter and led to similar legislation at the national level. So Periyar believed that the women should also have equal property rights. So that it will give them a social status and protection. In 1989, the government of Tamil Nadu fulfilled the dream of radical reformers like Periyar. So just by introducing the Hindu Succession Tamil Nadu Amendment Act of 1999, which give equal rights to ancestral property for women in their inheritance. So this act became a trendsetter and led to the similar legislation, similar laws passed at national level. Okay students, so today's class we discussed about the self-respect movement. So first the Justice Party, their achievement and self-respect movement. Suyamariyadha Iyakam. Then we discussed about life history of Periyar EVR. So if you have any doubt in this class, so please contact me. So thank you. So I will send you the homework as PDF.